All right, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. So we'll get on to the larger part of our agenda, and I'm going to turn the microphone over to Park Square Homes, and I will have them introduce themselves, but I'll start with Vishal Gupta. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Vishal Gupta. I'm the co-CEO of Park Square Homes, and I will introduce my team here. To the right of me is Becky Wilson. She's with Lowndes Law and is our counsel today. Next to her is Linda Kepfer. She's on my team at Park Square Homes. And then we have David Evans, who is with Evans Engineering and is the engineer on the project. And then at the end of the table, we have Mohammed Abdullah, who is our traffic consultant that we've engaged. Want me to step up? All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for having us here to present. And also thank you to the Hunters Creek Board for the last couple of years, the meetings. We've really enjoyed the conversations. They haven't been easy all the time, but we appreciate the continued conversation. So we'll start with the presentation. Do I have a clicker yet? Okay, great. Tonight we'll be talking about our proposed development here at the Hunters Creek Golf Club. So as you know, I don't have to tell anybody, this is an aerial of the golf course, and the red dot on that map is the clubhouse. Everything okay?
Yep, I'm going to turn this blind.
Okay. The next slide talks a little bit about the dedication and our proposed development. So as you can see on this map, the total acreage of the golf course is 188 acres. What we're proposing is to take 12% of the existing golf course, which is approximately 23 acres, that's highlighted in the color purple on this map, for the development, and then dedicating the shaded color in that yellow greenish color, which is approximately 165 acres, to the Hunters Creek HOA for an 18-hole golf course, including the existing clubhouse, pro shop, and cart barn. To accommodate the 18-hole golf course, we propose relocating hole number 10 and reconfiguring hole number 11 and number 18, which I'll show you on the next slide. So we're zooming in on the golf course where the clubhouse and the driving range is today. The proposed development has two main sectors to it. The first is the active adult rental community, which is age restricted to 55 and over. We have 26 luxury villas, they're twin villas, and 200 residences, which is the apartment building in the middle of the map. Then on the bottom, we have an office and retail zone, which will consist of restaurants, outdoor pavilions, possibly a pet daycare, and a two-story medical office and retail section. Well, you can also see on that map is the proposed community center if the HOA wishes to build that, where the current clubhouse and cart barn is today. We performed a few line of sight studies to give an idea of what the distance is between the closest single-family homes are to the proposed development. The first is from 14343 Sports Club Way. It is approximately 559 feet from the four-story project. And then at the bottom, we have what we call a line of sight study, which shows the home on the farthest left. We have hole number 1 in the middle, then the relocated hole number 10, and then a small buffer, our proposed garage building, the parking lot, and then the actual apartment building. So that distance, again, is 559 feet from that home. The next home that we selected was 2721 Crane Trace Circle. This home is 800 feet away from the proposed building. As you can see on the bottom, the home is there on the far left. Then we have hole number 11, then hole number, it's really hard to see from this far away.
It's hole number 1.
Hole number 1, I'm sorry, hole number 1, hole number 10, the buffer, and then the proposed garage building, the parking lot, and then the building again. So again, that's 800 feet away from the building. And then the third one that we did, which was at the request of the HOA since our last meeting, so this is new since the last meeting that we've had, is from 2809 Runyon Circle. This home is 1,042 feet away from the proposed building. We have a pond in the middle, along with hole number 11, and then the parking lot, and then the actual apartment building. As we dive into the product specifically, gives you a little example of what we're proposing for the active adult twin villas. So these are 2 homes in 1 building. They're single-story rental homes. There'll be 3-bedroom and 2.5 bath plans, and the residents of this product will have access to the amenities offered to the active adult residences. Those are just some sample interior shots of homes that we build in Central Florida that would mimic something we would build here. The next slide talks about our 4-story active adult residences. These are Class A luxury homes. It is age restricted again, just like the twin villas. They're 55 plus and over. They are market rate. They have no school impact and low traffic impact. As you can see, we try to make this product very residential in the way it looks and feels, and has high-end finishes. The retail zone will be a mixture of different type of characteristics. We want to make sure it's pet-friendly, has diverse character, is engaging, and is welcoming and social for the community here in Hunters Creek. These are just some sample images that we selected. We intend to do a medical office building. These are some sample images, but it'll be specialized doctor's offices. It will be a 2-story building with Class A finishes, and we will not have a rehab center. That question has come up in the past. Here's a slide to talk about the traffic characteristics. Age-restricted residential generates lower traffic than market housing. Most trips are outside of peak hours, and mostly local social trips that are not non-work related. As far as a local commercial, they're located away from major thoroughfares, primarily serves the neighborhood, primarily neighborhood supporting commercial, and the goal is to serve age-restricted and existing Hunters Creek residents. They're complementary uses, such as the medical professional office, local restaurants, and small retail. The studies that are required prior to development include a traffic concurrency analysis. This evaluates network capacity and provides mitigation through Orange County's concurrency management system. The second study is the intersection access operations analysis, which evaluates access intersection operations to ensure adequate turn lanes, traffic control, sight distance, capacity, pedestrian crossings, etc. We coordinate design to provide safe and adequate intersection operations. In addition to the traffic studies, we will coordinate with Orange County on the county's ongoing traffic calming safety for Hunters Creek. A quick development summary. This will be the first active adult community within Hunters Creek. It's an integrated development with no market rate apartments, no school impact. This does increase HOA membership for the Hunters Creek community. We try to create a neighborhood concept. This allows the HOA to take ownership of the golf course, and with minimal acreage impact on the golf course. We have no low-income development, and it allows for the preservation of the 18-hole golf course. To summarize what we're proposing, we're dedicating the 165 acres of the golf course and existing clubhouse and pro shop to the HOA in return for the development of 23 acres restricted to active adult rental community, retail, and office uses. A short timeline on how we'll get there. It'll take approximately 1 year to get through Orange County, 6 months for permitting, and approximately 2 years to build out, with a grand opening approximately in early 2026. Thank you very much for having me, and I think we'll move to the next portion of our agenda, which is question and answers.
Okay, well, thank you all so much. I appreciate that. So anyone who has any questions they would like to ask, if you'll please walk to the floor mic. Like I said, we'll have 3 minutes each. And we'll limit our questions, at least for Park Square, simply to the proposal. Again, anything related to the future golf course, the future property, to the governance, the structure, or voting, we'll leave to the Hunters Creek portion of our agenda. Okay, got about 5 or 6 people. So, sir, if you'd like to step up, please. Thank you.
Step up to the bar. Is this working? Okay. I have a couple of questions, but I have some statements to make first. There was an article in Orange County Sentinel. I believe, Ms. Wilson, you were quoted as saying that you bought the property, you will maintain the golf course, and then look at developing homes. What I see from my front yard, I have it here, is that you didn't maintain the golf course. So what happened there? Don't answer. The second thing is, you're willing to gift us back 88% or 87% of the land. It's junk. We contacted Bobby Jones, Billy Casker, all these development companies, gave them the GPS view, they looked at it, and this is what they said. Rebuilding the golf course is between 7 and 14 million. Greens, traps, fairways, rough, cart paths. On top of that, irrigation is between 500 and 700,000. The pump station is between 200 and 400,000. You can't use the current pump station with a new irrigation system. That's like taking a transmission from a 1990 Jaguar and trying to put it into a new one. Doesn't fit. Service contract on irrigation is $50,000 annually. Water costs 90 million gallons to water that and keep it up to the standard of other golf courses in our community, which this will be competing with. Lake Nona, Orlando, Celebration. People who come here for vacation or play regularly, they have a choice of where they want to play. So that course has to be at the same standard as that. Build a pro shop. Have you been in that pro shop and cart shack? Mr. Gupta, would you like to eat a hot dog in that pro shop? It's terrible. You don't want to eat anything in there. It needs to be rebuilt. Restaurant? Okay. What do we want? A Taco Bell or do we want an Olive Garden? And then we have to decide, my esteemed colleagues on the board, who I remain at your disposal for. Are we in the golf course business? Are we in the community management?
Can we hold those questions? Let's just ask the proposal questions now, please. Thank you.
Just the following statement is 25% of the golf courses in Florida go out of business because 80% of the revenue comes from players paying fees. So that golf course has to be at a standard. So even though you offer us a gift, it really isn't a gift when you think about it. Unless you're going to give us a check for $10 or $12 million to go along with it so that we can spend it revisiting that. I think my time is up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And then lastly, once it's all built, it has to be advertised.
Yes.
So the cost of advertising is in.
Great.
And
Thank
I'm saying, in the end,
No, please. Let's go. We're gonna maintain order. We'll maintain order, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I forgot also, whenever you come up to the floor mic, please state your name and also your neighborhood. Thank you.
Can they shut the phones off, please?
Thank you so much. That was something I just forgot. We've been hearing a lot of phones, so if we all please silence our phones during this presentation. Thank you. During the questions, thank you. Please.
So there were a lot of questions I believe Steve asked. Did we want to field them now or later?
Can you start with your name and your neighborhood?
Yeah, I'll do that. But did we address Steve's questions?
So
I'm happy to answer any of the questions. I was trying to write down exactly where the questions lie. There were a lot of comments. I think there was a question as to whether we would eat a hot dog in the clubhouse. I didn't hear any other questions other than that. We do not know the cost that it would take to take where the golf course is right now and make it playable again, and that may be something that your neighborhood wants to explore and talk about. But I do think that, and I didn't catch your name either. I'm not sure if you gave us your name.
Steve Seineke with the Fairways.
Fairways. But he did an excellent job of pointing out some of the issues that we found, that Park Square found in trying to run and maintain the golf course, and a lot of that was the cost and the lack of players on this particular golf course. But there was and I don't want to speak for your HOA, but we were given the results of a survey that was done in your neighborhood, and it appeared to be an overriding desire to keep that area as a golf course as opposed to maybe some other type of open space. And so if the HOA's decision is to keep that as a golf course, we are creating the opportunity for that. And the HOA can certainly decide to do something else with that land if they want to after that conveyance.
Good. Thank you. My name is Darren Sandberg. I am the president of the Tanglewood neighborhood. I've been a resident for 18 years, a board member for 18 years, and president for 12 years. My question to you, Vishal, is, and I'll frame it, as a business person, and us in business, we understand that the redevelopment activity is designed to unlock the value of the subject property. What value are you unlocking for your organization with this development in dollars?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head right now. That's something that we run numbers on the project, but I don't have those available at this time.
I mean, maybe some.
They're also not our business plans are also not
ballpark
public. So what
right.
what is the question trying to get at something else that we could answer for you?
No, just
You
I'm
just
a
wanna
numbers
know
guy.
what
I'm an
you're
accountant. I'm just very curious what attracted you to this property, and to me, it would be the bottom line. What value do you expect to unlock in dollars by redeveloping our golf course?
So, just if you don't mind, Vishal, I think that Park Square is a company that is putting a lot at risk in order to have some financial reward in the building of this neighborhood. They have reduced their request extensively through the work that we've done with your HOA board to get to a place that we believe is a fair exchange for 12% of the golf course, and then to dedicate at no cost to your neighborhood or your HOA the remaining acreage. So it will be up for you all to determine if you think that's a fair decision.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Can I have your 18 seconds?
You may. I yield the remainder of my time to John in the blue shirt.
So this is going to be like a little White House press conference, so I'm going to ask like 7 questions at once.
I'll get your
name.
name.
Sand Hill Trace. I've been there 21 years. And like all the neighbors in Sand Hill Trace, we try to keep things going under the tutelage of Richard Verdure, who's been doing this for 25 plus years. So I want to thank him for all that work. But the question, and I've walked around this golf course probably 100 times as part of my evening walk for over the last 9 to 12 months. Being in Sand Hill Trace, we're neighbors, next door neighbors. So based on the introduction of the former golf course, the project, this is going to be our future next door neighbors. So we want to make sure these next door neighbors, should they come in, are living on the same guidelines that Hunters Creek Homeowners Association. So number one, without getting all the details, the 23 acres to 188 acres, concern long term about what is that value of that acreage? Is there a tax issue there for the homeowners association? Eventually the citizens don't know, but pose that question. And then also, when I walk around the golf course, the maintenance has been average at best. You've got open, exposed electrical boxes, dead trees, anthills everywhere. So if we inherit this land that is of such value, will it be up to the same standards and maintained by the homeowner association? Who's going to incur that cost? So there's a lot of risk there, as I see it. Most importantly is the traffic. I think, yes, agree with the 55 plus being less traffic, but keep in mind we're living in a post-COVID world. People aren't going to work. They're in their homes throughout the day. So there is no really off time of no traffic here at Hunters Creek. Just took me 12 minutes to get from Sandhill Trace to the start of John Young because we have lanes that aren't even built for what we have now. So now you have probably 1,000 residents a day coming through there. So just long-term risks, and I don't think are really being studied in light of the new era that we live in, because people are living in Hunters Creek every single day working, and they're going to Target, they're going to the grocery store, etc. But mostly the big thing that I've noticed has been the beautification or the lack thereof that the golf course now provides for us. So what is the beautification plan, the visual intrusion plan to make sure that this fits in? Because I heard someone say this is going to be part of Hunters Creek. So the brick wall that I see on Hunters Creek Boulevard, is that going to extend all the way through to make sure that we're not seeing trucks and vans and populations of people? Disney has this premise of visual intrusion to not kill the magic. We don't want this building, this 4-story building, does it also live within the guidelines of Hunters Creek? I haven't seen anything. There might be a 2-story with a V top on the corner, but I haven't seen a 3-story. 4, you have to keep me honest here. 4-story, you'll see it. So visual intrusion and walls and buffers there to make it feel like it is truly an exclusive plus 55 and doesn't intrude on the citizens. So those are just some general comments. I throw those out. Any questions?
Sure. All right, I was taking notes, so I'll do these probably in reverse order. Okay. So with regard to beautification, yes, we would continue to work with the community when it comes to architectural guidelines for the buildings. I don't believe that we intend to have a brick wall around this entire project. The intent, going to your point about people spending more time at home during COVID, the intent with the retail and the medical office is to attract the people who are working from home to meet with someone from work or in the neighborhood for coffee or for lunch, and to be able to do that within your community and not have to leave the community. And I know that Hunters Creek is already divided by the major road, but for those in this section to not have to leave the community to be able to enjoy that type of commercial retail. With regard to maintenance of the retail office and senior living, we would have to, like Vishal said, we are inside Hunters Creek, so we would have to continue to maintain that up to the Hunters Creek standards. With regard to the golf course itself, that would be turned over to the HOA, and maintenance would be run through the HOA, which, as you know, driving through Hunters Creek is a pretty high standard. I don't want to speak about a tax for the HOA. It's our understanding that we would be part of the HOA and would have to pay dues as are appropriate for the type of residences that we are creating and for the retail. And you asked if the value is taxable. So the 23 acres currently pays lower property taxes to the county because its usage is designated as a golf course by the property appraiser. When that usage is changed to the commercial and residential that we're proposing, then that taxable value will increase, and the amount that is paid in taxes to Orange County would similarly increase.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I am from Eagles Landing. It was a little hard to see from the diagram in the back of where the proposed entrance to the new development would be, because traffic is a nightmare when you're going to work on OBT or John Young in the morning. And with the increased development of retail, even the over or age complex could still drive some additional traffic. So just curious if you could talk more about that.
Why don't we flip it back to the... So the entrance doesn't change. So the entrance you would take now to get to the clubhouse and that parking, that stays the same.
Okay.
And there's one additional entrance across from that Capri and Hunters Creek Apartments. So there's an additional entrance. It'll be a four-way intersection there.
And would there be any discussion with the city about making the lights change or making more lanes on John Young or OBT? Because that's the road that we take to get to work every morning. And if you leave at 7:30, you're waiting on that light to take a left like 3 or 4 times to take that arrow.
Yeah, so like I said, we have a traffic consultant, and we have to go through all of the traffic concurrency with Orange County to make sure that we're following all the rules and codes.
Are you able, the traffic consultant, I'm not sure which one you are over here, sorry. Hi, are you able to give any more information?
So, yeah, the timing of the traffic lights is certainly something that we'll have to look at. The way the traffic lights are timed is set by the state, especially on OBT because it is a state facility. So what happens as you get more traffic pressure on the side streets, then you can start demanding more time for the side streets to move the increased traffic. So as part of this process, we'll have to evaluate that and then take that request back to the state. And you know, if the level of traffic increases sufficiently to warrant a change in the timing, the state then will accommodate that and give more time to the
So that only happens after it's built out and after the traffic.
No, that happens as part of the evaluation of the development. So it's all part of the planning for the additional intensity.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a whole minute given to me. Hi, my name is John Similek. I'm in the Sandhill Trace Development. And I want to thank Mr. Gupta and his group here very much for coming to us with this proposal. It seems to be a very reasonable proposal on the surface. Of course, a lot of things have to be figured out on it. One of my questions was answered, but I want to just confirm that you intend to be part of the Hunters Creek HOA and not set up your own HOA. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The second question is, what is your plan if we say no? I like this, but I mean, what happens if we say no? What's your plan?
That's a great question. We've been working with the board for a couple years now. I honestly don't have an answer to that.
We need one.
Yeah.
I mean, we all need one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have one at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I hope we say yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Garrett. I'm from Golfview Condominiums. I have a question for Park Square, and then I have one question, please, for the Hunters Creek. So Park Square, could you please expand on the commercial? It was mentioned that there would be 1 2-story building for the medical. What plans or what expectations do you have? How many buildings commercial? That's one building. How many other buildings of commercial? How many either square footage or units, whichever you can provide? You mentioned different types of commercial, but my focus is on the commercial. And you didn't give a very good except for the 2-story medical. So could you please address that?
Yes, so we haven't quite dialed into the square footage to that level of detail at this time. We have a very conceptual site plan that's on the television right now. But we are showing right now 4 separate buildings, 4 individual buildings on that site.
4 2-story buildings?
No, right now there's 2 2-story buildings and 2 1-story buildings.
Okay, that helps. And my follow-up question.
If you don't mind, we'll take your question, but can we answer it when the board answers all the questions that are directed to the board so that we can keep the...
later?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask it now if you'd like, and we can write it down, or if you want to get back up.
Can I?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, so it has to do with, do you have a plan yet for the 100 and whatever acres, 50 acres or whatever, 165 acres, all golf course, some golf course, some parkland, you know, do you have a plan yet? And how might that impact our association fees? That's my question.
Thank you. That's a great question. There are several other questions like that, so thank you for asking it again, and we will respond during that session. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Chris Griffin. I live also in Sand Hill Trace. I'm not sure if that's the slide that has the distance between houses. I think the closest one you mentioned was 560 feet away. I'm the guy that lives 3 houses to the left of that. One question I had as you were focusing on the distance, is there a definition of what you would deem an acceptable, maybe non-intrusive distance, or is those numbers what you would deem as reasonable between, and the other question, I guess, the part 2 of that would be, can you tell me the distance from that house to the Audubon Villas, because that's the next closest multi-story building I have. So I'm just curious as to if we're going to quantify how close that is. Really, what are we really giving up? Because it was a guy with a bad knee. It seems like a country mile to walk, but for me, that's across the first hole and the driving range, and the 18th, part of the 18th. And so I think everybody that you're hearing from in Sand Hill Trace is. I've lived there for 23 years, so we've all enjoyed that. So I'm curious what acceptable really is.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that. So acceptable is a very objective, term. Subjective term. We develop multi-story apartments throughout Central Florida that are within 50 feet in mixed-use developments of single-family homes. We'll do single-family, townhomes, multifamily, commercial, and mixed-use developments throughout Central Florida. So it just depends on who would, what your personal preference is. But there is no such thing as an acceptable distance, except through setback regulations with Orange County.
Well, I would say I think your offer to donate as much land to the association as you are is really an extraordinary offer. What to do with it, that's probably a discussion we'll have another time with our master association leadership. But I think that it's very creative the way you've laid that out, although I think it also probably kicks the can down the road to the elephant in the room, and that is a lot of capital investment that has to go in and make that a working golf course. And what does it become if it's not going to be that? I won't rehash some of the other questions, but the other one I had regarding traffic was, I'll ask Mr. Broder, do you know how many houses we have in the Sand Hill Trace? 77. We have 77. Okay, so we have, you said 26 luxury villas, 200 apartments, and I think I read in the newsletter, it's a 55 or older community, but I think it was inferred that the average person typically living in that type of an environment is 70 years old. I'm just curious, anybody here 55 to 70 give up their car? No. Still have a car? You're going to keep your car? So we can probably conservatively say at least one car per house. So there's 226 there, and I'm wondering.
So we got time. Sorry, Chris.
That's okay. Well, I'm wondering about all the other traffic and one entrance in, which is existing. Because I think that's probably going to be the deal breaker for the Sand Hill Trace. So I just think that's a solution we're going to need to.
Thank you. I would like them to address your one question about the car thing, because I know that they have stated that before, at least in the meeting that we've had with them. So I would like them to respond to the car question.
I'd love that.
The question was how
many cars you anticipate for the 55 and older community?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
and the businesses that would be put into retail and and medical zone.
So there's, first of all, there's two entrances to the project. There's one where where the golf course is, parking lot is today. And then we're building a second entrance across from the
Okay,
apartment.
that's great. I think we heard one a few days ago. So two is better than one.
There's two entrances.
It's another four-way intersection where there's now a three-way.
That's the second entrance we are building in there. As far as cars are concerned, it's very hard. The average age for these communities are in the 70s, high 70s sometimes. And so, but we follow, Orange County code when it comes to parking per unit. It's hard to tell how many cars, we can't tell you how many cars are going to be parked at this.
And that's why one was reasonable, but with the traffic, I think it's fair to say there'd probably be several hundred cars.
That's why we hire a traffic consultant to help assist us on those.
Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure it's got the car question about the residents.
Yeah, and Chris, I just wanted to respond to your question. You're saying acceptable. A term we use a lot is compatibility. So two uses that can be different, but live near each other. And so one of the items that we really didn't get into detail about compatibility on this, you see that we are proposing, and this would be the when the 10th green or 10th fairway is put back into play, you would need trees there to divide the two. And then on the property where we are developing, we would have a significant landscape buffer on our property, again, to help soften any views that you might have in that.
I think it was more the traffic concerns we have, and you've answered that. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And just, we're getting some comments about the Zoom and some side conversations. I can't really hear it, but I think Zoom folks are hearing it. So we could just try to keep the side conversation to a minimum, please. Thank you. Hi.
Hello, I'm Carl Stevens. I live in Falcon Point. Been there since the beginning of '95. I live directly behind the Target. And please pardon my skepticism, but when Target came in, we had the Endeavor Children's Choir come over and sing to us. We had a big presentation. Promises were made. These promises aren't kept. All right, particularly for me personally, pertaining to noise behind Target. So I'm very skeptical of a multinational development company. Are you national?
We are not. We are based in Orlando and only develop in Orlando.
Okay, so I am very skeptical that a company would come in and only develop 12% of this land. And if something doesn't happen with the rest of the land, maybe this is a question for council. What controls or regulations are in place to keep you from putting high-density housing in the rest of this acreage?
Sure. Well, I'm happy to answer that. And first, if you're not familiar with Park Square, please look them up. They actually built many of the homes that are in Hunters Creek that some of you all may live in. So right now, if you're not aware, and I don't want, if you want to jump in, but there is a deed restriction, so a covenant over the golf course that it should remain a golf course, which is why we're here tonight presenting to you all, and that the HOA will explain later how that vote occurs to release the covenant or the deed restriction. So what we're going to ask is that a portion of the deed restriction be released for the 23 acres, and in place of that, put in a deed restriction that would require or allow only the development that we're proposing to you. What would happen with the remainder of it is it would keep that golf course deed restriction on it, and in our proposal, we would convey it to the HOA or an entity controlled by the HOA, so that then each of you all who are members of that HOA would control the destiny of the golf course.
Okay, I'll tell you what words scare me. One of them is dedicated. This land is dedicated. Another word is donated. This will not be Hunters Creek land, this will be your land.
No, we're
No.
giving it, conveying it, dedicating it, donating it. I'm not gonna use the word sell, because we're not selling it, we're giving it.
Okay, yeah, I want
Any synonym that makes you comfortable, that's the one we're doing.
When the genie's out of the bottle, my experience is when the genie's out of the bottle, you can't stuff it back in.
Well, I believe what we're trying to do our best is to give the bottle to the HOA so that we can relieve the fears that you have that Park Square then continues. And candidly, our first request when we came, 18 months ago was to dedicate, develop a portion of this, and it's been through reviewing the survey that was completed by the residents, seeing that it was important for the residents to control that land and to keep it as a golf course is why we came up with the proposal we're here with today.
Thank you.
And Carl, one last thing too is the covenants. We'll talk about the covenants later for that land, because those covenants will also have to change, and Beth will be able to better address that for us, because you'll have a say in that. So we want you to know that as we think about these acres that Park Square is asking for, we as a community will have an opportunity to, whenever she says release the covenants, we'll have an opportunity to work with them to insert certain language so that we keep maintaining protections as well. So you'll hear that later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, next. Oh, Ray. Hey.
My name is Ray Alger. I reside in Montera. I'm currently their voting rep. There's a lot that I like about this new proposal. I really like that you eliminated the earlier 6-hole golf course development. I like the inclusion of the 55 and over residential development. I even like the commercial development, and because I love outdoor dining. Most importantly, I really value and appreciate the transfer of the title of the residual 165 acres. I think that's a terrific thing. The key concern that I have, and it's going to echo some of what we heard earlier, the key concern that I have with the proposal is we have no idea what the cost would be to renovate the existing golf course, which I expect those costs have increased in part because of the decision to shut it down and let the land go fallow. So my suggestion to Park Square is to please go ahead, reconfigure the 18-hole golf course in the way you've imagined it here, and frankly, bring it back to life, get it up and running and operational. Because in order for you to do that, you don't need our vote yet. There would be no zoning change. Just go in and reconfigure it. And then that allows you the chance to kind of prove to us, see, look, it'll work. And we'd be able to assess, all right, was it costly, was it not costly? It'll give us a really much clearer idea of what this gift to us would actually be. Is it a gift or is it a huge financial obligation? Can't tell yet. The other thing that I would mention is relative to the rental aspect of the residential units. As non-homeowners, just as renters, but as non-homeowners, no one there would be able to serve on the HCCA board. And if memory serves, I'm not sure they'd even be able to, wouldn't even be allowed to serve on HCCA board sanctioned committees. So for me, I would personally like to see those be single family homes. You could choose to own them, but I really like the idea that folks that eventually owned a particular unit would have the opportunity to serve in the community. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Hi.
Hi, Wendy with the Fairways, live in the Fairways area. Your proposal said that you were going to move hole 10 and reconfigure 11 and 18, if I understood right. Does that include bringing those 3 holes up to complete standard, the greens, everything is good with those holes as if you were running them? And then at what date would you be transferring that over? Would it be 2026 that the HOA would be given the land, or would it be as soon as you can get rid of it, you'd be given it? I think that's an important piece for us to understand the timing. Also, repeating, to try to understand the costs, would you be willing to basically open the operating books and share that information with the HOA so that there's a little bit more understanding of at least what the costs had been in the past, what you had purchased and thought at that time? And then the last question is around a retail zone, and it has a little bit to do with some of the previous comments about promises kept, or you might think of it as, are we going to get a bait and switch? So you've shown some things about what it could be, but if we as a community decide to move forward, what kind of back and forth discussions are you going to have with us about what it's finally going to be over that period of time? How much more involved would we be in that design concept? Thank you.
I'll take the timing of conveyance. So we would not convey the property until the deed restrictions that I was just talking about, until those had been amended properly and we were given our approvals by Orange County. So we sort of have a sort of two different types of regulations on the property right now. One is that private deed restriction that we're here tonight, and then the second is the property. We would need to do a future land use map amendment and rezone, do a change to the zoning that's currently in place as PD. So when those occurred, so we would then turn over the golf course. So that would be before we built anything, but went through both of those processes. With regard to building or reconstructing those holes that were mentioned, we showed that that could be done with our discussions with a golf course architect, and we created plans around that. It was not in the offer that we would then go and create those holes, but again, we would dedicate the land that the golf course is on and let the HOA decide, make those decisions. I'll turn over to you with regard to retail and operating.
Yeah, I mean, so during the conversation, during the next, however time, we'll work with the HOA to make sure that the uses are acceptable to the HOA, and we will have prohibitive uses, uses that the HOA does not want in that area. So that discussion will be continuous, and we want to make sure we're working with the board.
Any other question about the books?
Oh yeah, but the books, yes, I think we're happy to share during the golf course operations what that looked like and the costs and expenses of that. We're happy to share.
Thank you. Hi. How are you? My name is Dan Griffin. I live next door to the gentleman who is 3 houses down from the line of sight, so I think we're all equally affected by what we're looking at here, which I'm sure most people will agree seems to be a bit better proposal than the first round. But thank you for all being here. I know this is a tough crowd. There have been a lot of comments kind of masked as questions, but some things didn't really get asked. I'm more of a get right to the point, ask the question kind of guy, for no other reason than my view and why I moved here 12 years ago in Sandal Trace is going to be specifically affected by this. The first question, and Ray actually did a nice job of kind of rephrasing that question with regard to the land and the shutdown of the golf course. I think I just heard an answer about the ability for you guys to put the golf course back and make it better towards the golf course is not going to happen. The question I have is, will you at least put the land back to what it was before it was shut down and turned into what it is now? I'll ask the questions and then you can answer them, because I know some of the answers might be too long and I don't want to miss out on my opportunity here. Second question, what happens to the parking lot at the clubhouse? I don't think we've heard any answers about that yet. I'm assuming that goes with the clubhouse, but I'd like to hear it for sure so that remains. Third question, on your initial proposal, you guys had proposed a road running from where the clubhouse is right now back to where the maintenance shack is. Is that road off the table and no longer going to happen with your new construction? The third question, with your multifamily dwelling unit, sorry, I come from that direct mail world where that's what we call those. Most of them in our neighborhoods and our communities around here are 3 stories. Why 4? That seems to be the difference between a huge wall and an acceptable view to most of us. Is it an option to do 3 stories? Similarly, along that question, and because I am in that 559 feet from where that wall is going to be for the construction, is it possible for you to switch the layout for those multifamily dwelling units and the villas so that the apartments are closer to the other apartments and the villas are closer to the homes? Are you guys planning on widening Hunters Creek Boulevard at all? I think 2 of my questions have been answered already, so I will pause.
Great, thank you so much. Park Square?
Sure. Now, Dan Griffin, are you related to Chris Griffin?
That's my brother.
Okay.
It's a long story, but we planned this for a very long time. So sure.
So with regard to the parking, the intent is to leave that existing parking and we would share it with the clubhouse. I think one of the things we didn't quite get into, and that is our proposed dedication would include the pro shop and those items or those buildings as they are now. We were provided by the HOA some visioning that was done a few years ago with regard to a community center. So we made sure that community center footprint would be able to fit on the property that was being dedicated with the existing clubhouse. So that's the building that you see in the site plan there, with the parking remaining in the front.
So assuming it remains a golf course, if we decide to go that route, we would want to keep that as a pro shop and not a community center. We would maintain ownership of the parking lot as well. You mentioned sharing that.
I think there would be some shared use for parking there. So when I've come out here a few times, and when it was a golf course, that parking lot was not full, and so we would want to have some type of shared use with our office and
must
retail.
have been there on an off day.
With our office and retail up front. I defer to you. The road is off the table. The one
Correct.
going.
No, that road is no longer a part of this development proposal.
The side road going to the maintenance shed.
Correct.
Wonderful.
And so one of the answers as to why 4 stories instead of 3, and I think that's because Park Square, asked David to design a plan that used as little of the golf course property as possible, so that we would have as much to dedicate or convey to the HOA. So that's one of the things that drives the 4 stories. The other is it sounds like you're also in this industry, but in the independent living, we're seeing most of those coming out as 4 stories because that has, as you know, a elevator in it, and those are usually, they have the interior air-conditioned corridors. And we're finding that that's what the seniors really demand.
And you can't have those in a 3-story building?
I'm just telling you what's driving some of the 4-story.
Yeah.
Is that everything? I think we got them all. No? Oh, right. The most important question. Are you going to bring the golf course, the land, back to the state that it was before we closed it down and it got all blighted and overrun by weeds and moles?
The offer is to dedicate the land as it is.
as is?
No.
Okay, that's what we needed to hear. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, next, please. Thank you.
I'm Lester Salisbury, Chairperson Carrington. I've got over 40 years of real estate background. And I've worked developers, developments, sold a few subdivisions. The thing is I hear things today that when you first bought the golf course, if you'd done your due diligence, you would have found out right away that there was no room to build. The previous renters wanted to build out there and approached us and found out they couldn't. So what due diligence did you do? Because it wasn't to develop it as a golf course. It was only way it could be. So what you're doing now, it's called in the business cherry picking, taking the best piece of the land, utilizing it, giving all the rest as a loss. It's a loss leader because it has no value to you. You can't develop it as a golf course. It's not financial to you. You guys are in the market to do business and make money. So to buy a golf course, you bought the golf course. Now you're going after the land. And that's not what you're saying here. You know, there's a lot of things going on, and you know, it's cherry picking. Was your due diligence structured?
Yes, my law firm helped Park Square do their due diligence, and we had a full title report, and we read the hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of restrictive covenants. So we were quite aware of what we purchased. Yes.
But you're not developing it, and it hasn't been developed as a golf course. It's been sitting there. It's worse now than it was. When you purchased it 2 years ago, we knew that just the irrigation system was going to be almost $2 million. Because this was given back to us, was tried to be given back to us with the previous renters that wanted to do the same type of scenario that you want, and they couldn't do it.
So this is not the first time that I have had the opportunity to work with communities when it comes to golf courses. And what you're pointing out, and what some of the other speakers pointed out, are all of the problems and costs and expense associated with running and maintaining the golf course. And we acknowledge that. And Park Square has worked earnestly with your HOA after the survey came back and said that there was a value in this community to keeping that land as a golf course. We've been working to try to figure out an economically feasible way to do that. And you are correct. The feasible way to do that is to allow us to take a portion of the land. This golf course is larger. It's 188 acres. That's more than you need for an 18-hole golf course. And so you're right. We're very upfront about it. We would like to use some of that land for development in exchange for helping, we believe, helping the HOA control its destiny when it comes to the remaining 165 acres.
But it's in total disrepair. It has no value to Park Square Homes.
Excuse me.
Other than they'll be paying taxes on it.
You're right.
So what you're asking us is to take a pig in a poke in plain language, because it has no value at all to Park Square other than 28 acres. That's, you guys haven't been honest with us yet and told us anything. Truthfully, you're telling us what you're going to do and what you want to do, and what you want us to do to make it happen.
Okay. Well, then we're going to thank you. Very, very valid and good points. And as we said earlier, the board and the community will be the ones. The community will be the ones to make those decisions. Thank you. Very good points, Jennifer.
Yes, sorry. I have two more questions, if you don't mind.
You're stood in line, so you're a
Thank
different
you.
person.
The first is you showed us a purple and yellow map on the screen of the projected land area versus the portion that you would gift. Is there any opportunity where you would choose to put the development in a different spot? Is that negotiable, or is that the only place for the development?
I would turn over to Dave because why they chose this spot.
We started out, I think you understand, we've been going through this for 18 months, so this wasn't the first location, but this was part of the first concept that we came up with in order to propose this development. So after many conversations, after hearing the feedback from the community and the board, the location that was chose was the least intrusive location that we could find on the golf course, because you had the driving range and you had 2 holes adjacent to the driving range. So it was the widest part. We put the development as far away from it as we could, next to existing multifamily development on the east side, in order to accommodate the comments and the concerns that we had from the residents of the board.
Okay, so that's probably the only spot that you considered. Okay, and then my second question, Becky, was you mentioned that there were 2 hurdles that had to be passed before you would gift the land back to Hunters Creek. One was the board's revising of the statement, and the second is Orange County. If that second hurdle doesn't get crossed, what happens to that land that was meant to be gifted?
It's the same. It's really the same question that was presented to Vishal earlier, and that is we don't have a backup plan right now. We don't know.
Okay, so then the gift wouldn't be given if you guys can't build in that area?
Oh, if the gift is predicated on our ability to develop this proposal. So that is correct. If we're not able to develop this proposal, then there would not be a dedication.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I live in Quail Lake, which is across the street, but I certainly stand in solidarity with my neighbors who are on the golf course. First question, if it's going to be annexed, meaning that if it is, there's no thoroughfare to get to town center, correct?
I don't know what you mean by
so if there's one way in, one way out, only onto Hunter Street Boulevard, correct?
That's twice, too.
Yes.
There are 2.
Sandhill Trace.
So, but is there going to be any way to get over to town center?
No, not at all.
So there's not going to be really any benefit towards the people that are on that side to benefit from the businesses, correct? There's not going to be any way for them to really come in. They would have to go back out and around, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then if construction does start, what plans do you have in place to help mitigate the trucks, things like that, noise? Have we thought about that?
You know what, we candidly, I don't think we've gotten that far, but we would be happy to work with your HOA on a construction plan and a transportation plan during construction.
Okay. And then for the businesses that will be in there, what standards are there going to be set for those, if any? Like, are you going to allow restaurants with loud music? Like, what is going to be placed there?
Well, it would be part of the Hunters Creek community, and if there are concerns about noise, we're happy to address those.
Okay. And then last question, what is the price point for those homes being built?
Rental. They're rental homes.
So there's no price at all? Like, what's the rent each month? Like, what would be the price point for that each month?
I think we haven't set that yet. Because this project's not opening for another 4 years, and so in 4 years we're not sure where the market's going to be. So it's hard.
So right now we basically don't know if it's going to impact us currently with other homes that are being rented inside Hunters Creek or not.
They're rentals, so they won't affect. I didn't understand your question.
No, I just want to make sure because there's already homeowners who rent their homes inside of Hunters Creek. that would also be affected by this if they're being rented. You know, who's going to rent a house that's 30 years old versus a house that's brand new?
It'll be market rate. So we're going to look at what the rental market is going on in the area, and we're going to make sure we're in line with that.
And these are age restricted, 55 and older, with a restriction that you can't have someone who's 18 or younger living there. So I do believe that product is likely differentiated from other rentals you see in Hunters Creek.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi there. I'm Joe Clark from Cypress Point. Just a couple of questions. First thing, if HOA community votes no, can we have assurances that Park Square will not pursue any litigation with Hunters Creek? Okay, I'll go on to the next question.
Becky, this is yours. Do you want to?
I'm going to have her respond now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She should respond.
I don't know how to respond to that. I can't.
Well, the answer would be no.
Well, I don't think we have any reason that we would sue you all if you voted no. I think we are here tonight and have acknowledged the fact that there is a deed restriction in place.
Okay, I just want to be sure because we don't want to have litigation where we're spending a lot of money defending ourselves. Okay. The other question is, why did Park Square originally buy this knowing there was restrictions in the property then?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that is we knew that coming in, and so that's the risk we take as a business to come forward and propose something that's...
So you originally were going to be doing it as a golf course, you thought, and that was it, right?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. That's the original thing.
But just a minute. I think what he said is he understood that that was a business risk that he was taking. I think he also appreciated that they, like I said, they've worked in Hunters Creek before, and he was looking to come up with a plan that could both solve the golf course concern in a permanent manner and, you know, him be able to conduct business.
Okay. The last thing is if the 55 and over fails for whatever reason, what are the changes you would have to make? Is that something, let's just say it doesn't work out, 55 and over. Would that be something that you can change it to make it to anybody then?
Well, based on the demographics right now, I think we're going to be pretty successful in a 55
You're talking about 6 years from now.
and plus community.
All right, it's nice to laugh and it's nice to be doing all that. But my question is though, if it fails, what do you do?
Okay, it's true. So, may I now?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So we don't intend that it would fail because if you look at the demographics that are headed towards Florida right now and are currently here, there are likely going to be more people in the 55 and up demographic that could be our clients than vice versa. But if it were to fail, there would be a similar deed restriction on this property that makes us or requires us to continue to operate as 55 and up unless we go through this process again.
That's what I was asking. Thank you.
Thank you. And Becky, in fairness, when I said that's your question, again, the hope is on both sides that we come up with a good solution. So it was not to take a jab at you. As attorneys, you know, I understand. So thank you for answering and being a good sport. Hi.
Hi there. My name is Lori. I'm in the Fairways. I've been there for 21 years. We're obviously surrounded completely by the Fairways. My question is, I know that people have asked it, but I haven't actually heard a clear indication as, are you going to right now maintain the golf course? Because when I moved in here 21 years ago, it was a beautiful course. It was only after Park Square bought it, actually, well, I say that when they were leasing it, is when it started to go down. And then they bought it and it really went down. And it seems right now that they only maintain about once a month. I can look out my door, I'm on the 8th fairway, and I can watch that grass grow. I can watch the ant piles grow, the crap grow on the sides, and then all of a sudden, you guys have a meeting with Hunters Creek, and everybody's like, oh, we gotta go out and mow because we have a meeting. So, are you gonna maintain the golf course during this time and bring it to some standard that is halfway decent for us? I've also heard that, are you going to widen Hunters Creek Boulevard. Obviously, it doesn't affect me, but it affects a lot of these neighbors in here. That road, at the best of times, is horrible. These neighbors getting out of Eagles Landing, all the other ones down the side, trying to get out, they can't get out at the best of times. It's too crowded. So you're now adding another 200 homes, and that's 200 cars. And then, when they transfer, or during this year-long transfer time, or whatever you guys are talking about, are you still going to maintain the golf course before you hand over the golf course to Hunters Creek? Which I agree that Hunters Creek we need to take possession of the golf course, because then at that point, we can decide as a community how to keep it up to our standards instead of having you guys run it down, pretty much. That's it.
So, Mohammed, do you want to take the question about the roadway?
Yeah, regarding the widening, I don't, that is a public county roadway, Hunters Creek is, and I don't believe there are any plans to widen the roadway on its current cross-section. Well, there are certainly things we can look at as part of our evaluation with respect to access and making sure that it functions. So that'll be part of what we will be doing.
But you wouldn't offer the county, like, you wouldn't offer to say to the county, hey, we'll help you widen that road because right now it's already a nightmare, and you want to add all these extra homes on.
So widening the road would involve impacting the existing residents that are on the edge of the road, taking some of their real estate and property. So given the conditions here, and I haven't really gotten deeply into them, but at the level that I've seen, frankly, and I know that's not going to be a popular answer, but the level of traffic that's there is manageable with the lanes that are there, with intersection improvements, but not necessarily a wholesale widening of the roadway. So the intersections are where we would focus our attention.
So the question on the maintaining, is that going to be?
So I was just checking the maintenance schedule. So right now we have crews out maintaining the roughs 5 times a week.
Oh, no.
That's unacceptable.
No way.
It takes 5 days to do
One
the
guy
whole.
for 18 holes.
Maybe when we a year.
Yeah, it's a month. I can tell you, I can set my calendar to when they come out and do the eighth fairway. And I go out of the neighborhood and we look on either side, and even right now, it's not even up to standards. There is crap everywhere growing on the land that has a no posted, no trespassing. So we can't even like go on that property if we wanted to and clean it up.
For the winter.
Yeah, we can. Can we?
The guy has a riding lawnmower built for a home of about 2,000 square feet. That's what he's maintaining the golf course with.
Yes, he's not doing. They're not maintaining it. They may be telling you you're maintaining, giving you a nice schedule. It's not happening. It's not happening. Nope. And it hasn't happened for over at least a year, maybe even 18 months. As soon as they decided they were going to build on this, they stopped maintaining it. Anyways, so if you can, maybe get them to maintain, I think you might get somebody to actually listen to you. But right now, I don't think it's happening.
Thank you. Hey, is the clock on? I didn't. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Hey, Dee.
Hi, I'm Dee from Devlin Green. So I just want to make sure. So once there's an agreement on the covenants and deeming over to you the 23 acres or whatever, and once that is agreed and established, anything that the community decides to do with the remaining property will be of no concern to you, correct?
I think, yeah. We don't want you to turn around and sell it to another developer.
No, well, it's my backyard, so no, I don't.
But if you want to keep it as open space, a park, a golf course, all of those things are accepted.
Okay, and as far as opening the books, I've been here 6 years. There's been 4 management companies. So opening your books is not going to be a realistic view of the operation of that golf course. The last two companies, and Doorknock was one, really was a minimal management company. So unless you're going to go back further or something, opening your books to show the operation of a golf course is not realistic. So I would appreciate if you do put out information, it's more realistic along the lines of other golf courses of this quality. That's just a statement. I'm not asking for questions. That's it.
Thank you, Dee. Hi.
Hello, I'm Hector from Flora Vista, 20 years resident here. Great job for what you did. I just want to make sure I understand, is there going to be a driving range in your proposal? And you are relocating 10, 11, and 18? No. Right? Sorry for the question. Are those going to be
Yes, those
two
are
par fours
relocated.
and one par three? Do you have that detail?
No, and then the driving range will not be no longer.
Okay.
And the 3 holes will be relocated as shown on the map.
And they're going to be what, par 4, par 3, or you don't have that detail, or whatever we do?
Yeah, 18 stays as a 4, 10's a 4, and then 11 is a 3.
Okay. I was kind of shocked when I heard that the land development company was going to run the golf course. They are actually not really compatible. And I just want to go a little bit on the plan B. I understand you said you have no plan B. I don't buy it. I work for companies. If I don't have plan B to my boss, I'm out for any problem. Okay? So you have one, you don't want to share it, I understand. But coming to the plan B is, how far were you from break even on this course when you were running the course? There are a lot of golf management companies that can help or manage that to be able to work out a working plan, plan B, to make the golf course profitable. It's crazy, but I'll say if you put Tiger Woods to be the manager, I'm sure you're going to need a lot of money. That's what I think, okay? And it would be very interesting to see how far you were from your costs, if they are feasible, to see how much it is. And a golf course, when it was taken by you guys, did you have any idea of where your primary objective to improve the golf course and make it profitable and being back, because it was one of the top golf courses in Florida? Or you have the idea of developing the land for rate? Thank you.
I'm not sure of the questions, but I think as Vishal has, I think no, there really isn't a plan B, and I think as Vishal mentioned before, when Park Square Homes built this, they understood that the golf course had a deed restriction on it to be used only as a golf course, and I think that some of, at least my understanding, the issue with the golf course was a bit circular in that there weren't enough players to create the revenue, to create the money to reinvest it in the golf course to get more players to come. And that's not a problem that was created when Park Square purchased it, but I believe was a problem with the golf course. And as people have mentioned, there were maybe 4 management companies before Park Square purchased it. So again, our hope is to help sort of end that cycle and put the control of the golf course out of the hand of a third party and into the hands of the HOA. And then you all can decide if you want to make that investment to bring it back to one of the best golf courses in Central Florida, or if you want to choose to use it in another way to serve your neighborhoods.
Would you do the development and also build the golf course and do the administration of it?
That hasn't been our offer. Our understanding is that
I understand. I'm just mentioning that if you have considered that.
We have not considered that. Our understanding is the HOA wanted to control the golf course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just before we keep going, go ahead and step up. But the last, is that Joe? Are you the last person? Okay. So after you, we're going to stop this line. So because I know we're hitting on 7:30 already. all the questions are great in the report, but we want to then address some that have been sent through the email, some have been sent through Zoom, and then we want to be able to have questions asked of the board and the management team. So we'll wrap it up with Joe will be the last person for Park Square Homes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Alex Barr from Sandhill Trace. I feel like I'm watching a live Shark Tank. Great job, Mark Cuban right there, just making it all happen. First question, and this is part of Plan A. Tough question. Do you have to use the Sandhill Trace entrance and sharing parking lot because that brings retail customers into the parking lot? And we've only got 77 homes on that road. Now we have maybe another couple hundred cars coming through there. That has a lot of impact on that entrance, on that turn. So can you build this without making Sandhill Trace the savior of transportation here and look at alternative routes? Second question is, once you build it, 2026 is there. We have a big grand opening party. Everything is great. You got the place sold out. Will you continue to operate it, and for how long after it's built? Or are you going to give it to a apartment management company that will now be another voice that may not have the insights and the legacy of all this information to ensure that a lot of things that we agree to get captured in future state? So 2 questions.
Yeah, I'll take the second question first. You know, it's our intention. We are not operators, so for all our projects, our multifamily projects, we do hire third-party operators, and we manage them. They have to adhere to the same rules that we decide on the maintenance of, you know, the building as far as the rules and regulations of the HOA. So there's no exception to that. As far as how long we'll own it, I can't tell you how long we'll continue to own the project. We own sometimes we own for 1 year or 2 years, sometimes we own for 10 years. So it depends on a variety of factors that I can't predict at this time. What was the first question?
It has to do with the access.
Can this thing exist without leveraging the Sandhill Trace entrance?
Yeah, you see that we've got two entrances now, right? Yes. And the main entrance is going to be the new entrance that we build. Okay. So that entrance will be the main entrance and the closest entrance to the residential development in the back, as well as the retail. So that the Sandhill entrance will still maintain the golfers, because that has the golf course parking lot adjacent to it, just like it always has. And there may be some residual, traffic on that road as well, but that's further away from the residential and what we're building than the main entrance that we're building. And you can see that on the drawing there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if this was Shark Tank, I would be getting to ask the questions.
I'm Mr. Wonderful. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much. Hi. Go ahead. Thank you.
My name's Rob Williams. I live in Tanglewood. And I just have one hopefully simple question. I work in business consulting. One of the things we talk about is what's called the WIFM. What's in it for me? So as a resident, I look at this. I'm not really a golfer. I don't care about additional retail space. Any car is one more car. I'm a civil engineer by degree. I've had planning classes. I've had transportation classes. I've been out there and I've seen the traffic. One more car. I don't care what you do to the signaling, chiming, and everything else. It's not going to be less traffic. You may help a little bit, but there's always so much. Your hands are tied. I get it. But I don't see any value to me in approving this change. You own it. Currently, you're barely maintaining it. I don't know what's going to change. If we vote this down, and we say no, it's not going to get maintained worse, because as far as I understand, you're maintaining it at the absolute minimum to keep yourselves from getting any more tickets from the county or something like that. So what's in it for me?
So I think to answer that, we tried to respond to the survey that was done. I don't know if you took the survey and unlike you, the overwhelming feedback from that survey showed a desire to keep this land as a golf course. And so we're trying to respond to that survey in particular. And so I think what's in it for you is whether the community decides they want to keep it as a golf course or use it for open space. there is finally a permanent owner and decision made with regard to the 165 acres that would go to the HOA.
In my heart, I don't believe the HOA has the funds, based on the numbers I've heard, to bring this back to a golf course that can be sustainable. I'm not a developer in golf courses, so I don't know that for sure, but that's what I've heard.
I wouldn't know what your
I get it.
financial situation is.
I don't think we can afford it. I think it's, at best, it's going to be a little better maintained than it is now if we own it. I would hope we could do more with it. That's not for you to figure out. But, a lot of people have applauded your presentation, frankly. I think you came in with a negotiation tactic. You hit us with a big something impossible up first, and we said, no, 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 no. Now you come in with a lesser proposal that suddenly we think, oh, this looks great. It's a negotiation tactic, tried and true.
No, we really would have preferred build the first one we showed.
No, I would prefer.
That's not why we bought here.
Of course, and that's it.
What
My
are the
property
other-
values, I feel like nothing you've shown me here is going to improve my property value. So my
Well,
time's up.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, if we were to look at golf courses throughout Central Florida, and unfortunately there are a lot of case studies that can be done. And I do believe that there is concern on a closed golf course about property values, whether your home is on the golf course or not. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's fair to say that, but I think based on the condition it's in now, my property values have already taken that hit. They're not going to continue to get worse because of the condition you guys have allowed. Understand it's not your fault. It started sliding downhill, but you've done nothing to keep it from continuing to progress downhill.
I would suggest that by the HOA owning, controlling, and maintaining that, your HOA then is in control of your destiny when it comes to property values. Whether you want to see it maintained as a golf course or as something else, you certainly take the question mark that is the golf course away when people are considering moving to Hunters Creek.
When I buy a property and my neighbor allows that property to go to and the government steps in and insists that they maintain certain standards, that at least keeps it from dropping any lower. And I feel like that's what you've done. It's not my responsibility to buy that property, or if they want to give it to me, for me to bring it back up to the standards. I expect my neighbors to keep it at a standard. But
thank you.
Those are HOA things.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate all your comments. Joe, thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Overberger, and I live in the Chalfont neighborhood. My specific question is, we kind of touched on it earlier, and I submitted this question online. I thought we might have heard something about it by now. But if the 4-story building is a deal breaker, what's the option of building 2-story buildings? Take the extra acreage away from the gift we're going to give us. My vision for this is not an 18-hole course, but a 9-hole course with dual tee boxes like the Marriott is over on International Drive. The driving range is essential. If you're a golfer, you want a driving range. If you're in a community like ours, you can have junior golf, teach kids to play golf. So taking the driving range out of the question, I think, is a deal breaker. But build the 2-story buildings, gift us whatever acreage is left over, 9-hole golf course, open park space, whatever else we decide to do with it, that'd be our option. But I think trying to cram an 18-hole golf course without a driving range and the other things, I just think is very possibly not doable. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, so I know it's about 7:35, so we'll move on to the next part of the agenda, and that's for Michelle to go over for us the governance structure and voting as we think about this proposal that was made tonight. So Michelle, I will turn it over to you.
I want to go through the Zoom questions.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, sorry.
And
I'm getting
Terry
tired.
has questions that were written in that have yet to be addressed.
My apologies. Yes, let's
Okay.
take the Zoom and the email questions.
I'll do mine. I only have a few.
some of the individuals were here tonight and have asked questions, but they weren't addressed, so I'm gonna go ahead and just ask them.
Can everybody still hear?
Yes.
From Darren Sandberg, is there planned restrictions on short-term rentals? Like Airbnbs or, I mean, that's not allowed in Orange County, but.
We would have to comply with Hunter Creek's regulations, the federal regulations to have a seniors housing, and we would have to comply with Orange County's regulations, and I don't believe that the combination of the three of those, we can have short-term rentals.
Okay, and then the next couple of questions, because I don't know that they were fully addressed, are all in regards to traffic. I'm going to, I'll read them all and then I'll let you address them, whatever you can answer. The entrances to Eagles Landing, Eagle Park, and Fox Haven are the only part of Hunters Creek Boulevard and Town Center that is 2 lanes instead of 4. The traffic is so congested already on Hunters Creek Boulevard, westbound at John Young Parkway, and the backup blocks exiting the Eagles Landing and Fox Haven westbound. Has a traffic study been performed to measure the impact of adding homes that would access Hunters Creek Boulevard?
We have not completed a traffic study to analyze that at this time, but that would be required as part of our entitlement process.
Okay. Since we already have a traffic problem, what is the expected added density of people? Assuming 50% and 75% occupancy of the homes, again, assuming the above densities, how many added vehicles are expected?
Added vehicles?
Like you have to have a certain amount of spaces for the.
Yeah, so based on the current plan, we would expect. Again, it's not there yet, but you're looking at somewhere around 200 and
That makes only 1 car per house.
additional vehicles that will be making trips.
Doesn't include retail.
Again, this is the from the residential. That's what we would expect currently. Again, we haven't gotten into the details of it, so I don't want my numbers being quoted, but that's ballpark. That's what we're looking at.
That goes into the next question, which is how many parking spaces are designated in the current proposal? Specifically, how many for each of the 2 residences?
We would meet Orange County standards, and those standards are based on the number of bedrooms per unit.
And you stated you have not done a traffic study yet, because that was the next question.
Correct.
And then the last question I have is, what in your marketing study indicates that there is demand for retail space in Hunters Creek? What is the statistic?
We have not done a market study.
So what's being done?
This is awesome.
How does he know it's a good investment?
Okay, this one is a long one. Okay, given that A, vacant land in Orlando area is conservatively valued at $50,000 for approved developable apartment unit and $75,000 for approved developable villa unit, which amounts to approximately $12 million in value for the 200 proposed apartment units and 26 villas. Park Square Homes offer to convey the remaining 168 acres of undevelopable land back to the HOA, which would otherwise be a liability to Park Square Homes, adds an indefinite cost to the HOA budget. What value is Park Square Homes proposing to give back to the community in exchange for the $12 million in development approval value should the Park Square Homes proposal move ahead?
So I think we've been clear tonight that what our proposal is 165 acres as a gift.
Use what again?
Of hot garbage.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few from our participants on Zoom. So Zoom folks, you're up. And just for the record right now, I can tell everybody that I am managing 89 people on Zoom at this time. So there are a lot of Zoom participants, so I think that's terrific. I'm glad we were able to add that. So thank you to my Zoomies. Hopefully we'll do you justice with your questions. Okay, the first question that I do not believe has been asked. Do the sight line diagrams take into account the current height of any existing trees between the property and your 4-story building? Are they sufficiently tall to totally block the view of your 4-story building?
So do we want to click back? So we used average mature tree heights. We did not go out and use an exact tree survey of what's existing out there.
Okay. The next question is, why are the 55+ residences presented as rentals and not owned, not private ownership or condos?
Because that is our intent, is to continue to own that land and use those as rentals.
Okay. Lots of good questions on Zoom, not repeat ones. I don't think you'll be able to answer this one, but I will ask it because it was presented. What are the operating hours of the retail and restaurants?
That's something that we're happy to have as a discussion with the HOA for acceptable hours of operation.
So they'll work with the HOA on acceptable hours of operation. This is more of a comment. The 4-story building will stick out like a sore thumb, as it will be the highest point in Hunters Creek. So that's a comment. I don't know if you want to comment on that as well. Okay, so this one has been answered. This is one for the HOA. HOA. Lots of comments on sound and people talking. Lots of sound. Okay, will Park Square Homes, this is from Rob White in the Fairways. Thank you, Rob, for introducing yourself and your question. Will Park Square Homes share their books for the golf course to allow Hunters Creek to do their due diligence of the cost of ownership?
Yes, we've already.
And they've already answered that. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm listening and reading. Question. This has been answered. Will the property have to follow HCCA bylaws? That's a settler's landing question, and the answer to that is yes. I am John Gerwin, and I live in Sand Hill Trace. Sorry, John, if I mispronounced your last name. I am going to be negatively impacted by this more than others. Am I going to get more money because I will be impacted more? So there's no money being awarded. Hang on, I'm getting there. Okay. The premise of, this is from Robert, I do not know his neighborhood. The premise of a 55 and over community in Hunters Creek is to find a place for Hunters Creek empty nesters to move into and not leave Hunters Creek. Will these luxury 55 over communities even be affordable for our residents to move into? And then the question is, what is the expected retail for these homes? And Robert may have misunderstood that the homes are, the villas are also rental, not for sale. So the question boils down to, you have not established the rental rates, you have said that they're going to be market value. I don't know if there's any further comment you want to make on that question.
No, other than he's exactly correct. The intent is to create a community where if someone who wants a senior to live with other seniors can choose to sell their home and move into our community.
Another question on the rental rates. A question from Sandy is, what should we expect as the construction begins, and how long should we expect for the project to take to complete?
It's tough to say. Today, projects are taking a lot longer to build just due to supply chain constraints and a lot of activity. So it's tough for me to say. A typical, and we might do it in 2 phases. So it's tough for me to say how long. But a typical construction timeline for a building like that would be 18 months. So that would be plus or minus that range.
Okay. Some of these I have not pre-read because they're coming in fast and furious. Richard says, as I understand it, the community really told Park Square Homes that they had to keep the golf course as a golf course, and that was preferred rather than their proposals 1A or 1B. That's not the same as how they have interpreted the response. We're getting sucked into their line of reasoning. So that's a comment. Oh, here's one that has not been asked. Why have you decided to make these units rental instead of townhomes or condos owned by individuals? That has been asked? Sorry. Okay. There's a question that has been asked and answered about the profit loss for the last 5 years of the golf course. There is some concern that has been expressed by Sandy that there is there's an area on Hunters Creek Boulevard by Eagles Landing that Hunters Creek Boulevard, we know this is a county road, continues to sustain damage, and the county has repaired it many times, and there's some concern about truck traffic. So will you be working with Orange County to repair and or protect Hunters Creek Boulevard from further damage during the construction?
I don't think we're aware of what those issues are, but we will work with the county and the HOA to repair any damage caused by our construction.
It's obvious, this is from Laura in Fairways. It's obvious that Park Square Homes bought the land to develop it. Why did they not attempt to upgrade it and run it as a golf course?
Good point. Well, we did try to run it as a golf course for some time.
No way. Horrible job.
Here's a comment. So this goes out to those who have commented on a 9-hole. We received some comments online with this, and I know that Joe brought this up in his presentation. He says, this is Wayne C., and he states that 9-hole with the driving range is fantastic. Half the maintenance and half the cost. More space to redevelop for what Hunters Creek really wants with the extra land, such as the driving range. So that was just a comment. This person is, their initials are SS. I do not know their name. Mohammed, this question goes to you. They would like to know your credentials as a traffic expert.
I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Florida. I'm a certified professional traffic operations engineer, and I've been doing this for 27 years. For 10 of those as principal of my company, and 15 here in Central Florida.
Thank you. Bravo. There was a question asked about switching the 4-story structure with the villas to put it closer to the existing apartment height. This question was not answered. Could this be done?
David, I'm going to turn that over to you, but appears if you just look at the site plan that you can't flip those things just because they're different widths.
Correct. The idea again was to maintain the golf course, so we needed that land adjacent to the villas to accommodate the par 3, Hold'em or 11. So if you change the locations of both of those, then you wouldn't have enough land for that par 3.
Okay. And the last question, and then I'll be closing the Zoom questions to Park Square Homes, is actually this is just a comment. And this is from Jackie, and Jackie states, if you improve and run the new community as you ran and improved the golf club, we have serious doubts.
To make her feel better, I would suggest Park Square has considerably more experience in owning and running communities like we're proposing.